meeting on November the 16th to order. Members of the County Board of Commissioners are advised of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of such conflict, and further are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this Board of County Commissioners with respect to which there is a conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict. And I'll ask you again.
Be glad to. Let's pray. Good day, Heavenly Father, and just thank you for this gracious opportunity that you've given us. And Father, we just ask that you just lead us and just guide us. And Father, most of all, just be at our counties, especially those who are sick and ill, Father, and lost loved ones. Father, we just ask that you just comfort them and just be with them. And Father, just continue just to be with us and just give us the words and the knowledge and the wisdom and Father, we're just so thankful for everything that you do. In your precious Holy name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to add 7A, Skyway, and Henson will be presenting a presentation on adding a tower to some Grant County property. Delete number 6. Those are the only changes. I'm sorry, there was one more. The senior center's participation plan will go under 11. That's the senior center will be that new participation illness waiver that has come out for COVID-19, and then appointment to the VI board after that.
Would you want to go ahead and add the appointment of the representatives to VI?
Yeah, I think that's the next one after that. Under 11, appointment to the VI board.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, all in favor? And now we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the workshop, minutes and regular minutes of October 19, 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
No, I would not.
You need. Okay, I will now turn the floor over to Russ Harris of the Southwestern Commission. Welcome, Russ. Thank you for coming to be with us.
Thank you all. Good evening. My name is Russ Harris. I am the Executive Director of the Southwestern Commission. I've been at the Southwestern Commission for about 5 years. I know most of you from my previous role as Director of Community and Economic Development. We wanted to come tonight and reintroduce myself and just give you all a brief update on what we have going on right now, what we're working on. I did put a copy of our 2020 annual report in front of you all. Out of respect for your time, I'm not going to read that, but we'll go through a couple of highlights from what we've got going on. Our mission in the region is to improve the quality of life of people that live in the region by assisting our local governments in achieving their goals. We do that primarily through our 3 departments, which are Community and Economic Development, the Area Agency on Aging, and our Workforce Development Department. With regards to community and economic development, we tend to work on issues that go beyond county boundaries. No matter what town or county we go into, we hear the same issues right now. Primarily, broadband and housing are 2 things that seem to rise to the top. They were exacerbated by COVID-19. Our need for broadband, our need for our students to be able to keep up, and our need for our workers to be able to have a place to live. So with housing, one thing we've done to start addressing that is we've started forming the Southwestern NC Home Consortium. 6 of our 7 counties are members of the consortium. That is to bring HUD funds to the region to help with workforce housing. HUD funds generally will only go to urban areas, so the way to get around that is rural areas have to kind of band together, get enough population to be able to start drawing some of those funds to the region. We've been working on that for about 2 years. It's a long process, going through the federal hoops, things like that, but we plan to have funding coming to the region early in 2022. With broadband, our work generally comes from supporting local providers, internet providers, in grant writing and grant assistance. With state funds to help with broadband, generally that can only go to providers. Broadband companies don't want to be writing grants, they don't want to administer grants, so we've partnered with people like Skyway in the past to help them with grants. So in Graham County, we wrote 2 grants that have been funded for about $780,000. There's at least $380,000 of private money they're putting in to match those grant funds, and at least 535 people in Graham County will receive broadband service from those grants. With our area agency on aging, that department supports our aging population, people with disabilities, and people who are caregivers. So in the last year, they've provided over $140,000 in nutrition funds to Graham County, which provided over 10,000 meals for people in Graham County, either home delivered or drive-through because of COVID-19. They were also able to redirect $40,000 in CARES funding to Graham County, much of which went to purchase a new van for home delivered meals. And then our workforce department has training funds for businesses and individuals to help them kind of get trained up or be able to take care of some of our workforce issues. So we've had people in Graham County in the last year get degrees in nursing, occupational therapy, civil engineering, and then we had one student who got a work experience with Where Room Honey, where we can help pay for them to go. Maybe they think they're interested in a job, so they can go work for a little bit, find out whether or not it's worth pursuing for them, or if they want to go do something else. Part of how we are supported is through local dues and local government. Last year, we took in $152,000 in local dues to help support us, and with that money, we brought in over $10 million into the region. So for every dollar we bring in from local dues, we bring in another 60 from state and federal sources. Any questions?
I don't think so, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all. And just one other resource we can be for you all is just as a conduit to state and federal agencies. So if there's questions you have, please reach out to us and ask. And then I was talking to Jason Marino on our way in, and it looks like we'll have support for the state government to help local governments with ARP funding. So as you're figuring out how to access those funds or how to leverage those, please reach out and let us know how. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Thanks, Russ.
Congratulations on the job, Russ.
Skyway here. Guys want to continue? Madam Chair. Sorry.
I'm Adam Henson. I'm with Skyway Internet, a company located out of Bryson, Indianapolis. Like I said, we're a company out of Bryson City. We're local to there. We came before y'all a few months ago and did a slight presentation about one of the grants that Russ had helped us write and get for Graham County. And the reason I'm here today is for us to pursue providing internet service for the county and to get in the county and serve your people. The way we're a WISP company, and the way it works, we find a main hub that's located right close into town that we can attach into fiber, and then from there we branch out. The reason I've written this proposal or got this together to present it to y'all today is there is a piece of property located right on the other side of the town. It's 10 Fort Hill Lane or 40 Fort Hill Lane, is at the 911 center. And the reason that I'm interested in that property, it is a county-owned property, but it happens to be located in an ideal situation where we can tap right into fiber and get data right there to it. But also, it sees towers on Joanna Ball and Wachacha Ball. And why this is important, if we can put a tower there in this location and see both those, we can branch out into the county and start serving the whole community. This is kind of like the main, it's like a puzzle. Once this falls into place, we can start branching out. And we've already got in the works to set up to get on Wachacha and Joanna and start moving once we find our central hub location here in and about around town where we can tap into fiber. And that's the main key there, that we can create those links to other towers or other areas in the county to branch out. What I'm proposing, if you flip over and you can look at the kind of image there that I got, it's an aerial shot of the property there. I've kind of like got them labeled 1, 2, 3, just some ideal spots on the property that maybe would work for us in possibly putting this tower or having this location on there. And what I'm asking for is about a 20 by 20 square foot piece of the property to erect the tower, to have our little weatherproof box, to put our equipment in, to run our power, all that we need. If you look towards the end there, there's I'm sorry, if you go right towards the end, you'll see that we have the engineering drawings. If you're interested in seeing the specs on the tower, it'll be a self-supporting 100-foot tall tower. The main base at the bottom will roughly be a 14 by 14 square base. And then the extra 5 or 6 feet that I'm asking for is just enough to where we can put our box in there and our equipment in that box and have a little bit extra room to do what we need to do there. The enclosure for the weatherproof box, I've added it in there too. It may be hard to see that. It's, I think, on the 3rd or 4th page there. It is roughly going to be about 4.5 feet tall by 2.5, 3 feet wide and about 2 feet deep. And it'll have a rack in there where I can put my switches, my router boards, and connect the data to run our wires of the tower to our equipment that will mount up there to send out the signal to start hooking up clients and residential people here in the county and into the other links that we'll be shooting to those other towers. If you flip past that, you'll see kind of a few pictures there that I've got. We have this same exact setup is how we did Swain County. It's how we started in Swain and branched out from there and managed to get roughly 90% of the county now. There are a few small pockets in which we're still trying to hit, but for the most part, that's how we've got a lot of the county there. But the more interest, or what you'll be more interested in is the backside. It'll show you kind of the base of that tower that we're using there in Bryson or Swain as our main hub and the weatherproof box. Now, the box that we'll be using here is going to be slightly taller than this one. Like I said, it'll be about 4.5 feet tall. It'll give us just a little bit more room. But these images here is roughly what we're looking at doing there on that property. You'll have the base of the tower, you'll have the weatherproof box. You know, we'll have our equipment mounted on the tower. We'll run our Cat5 down into our box, into the switches. We'll have fiber come into the box, into the switches, and then we'll get with Duke and have them run power and get that taken care of for us. Other concerns that I know y'all might be aware of if you flip to the next 2 pages, because it is right there next to the 911 center and some of the county buildings that y'all have. I know you may be concerned with us interfering with what they've got going on there, and that is not a concern to be worried with. The county has licensed frequencies, and this is a list of all the frequencies from the FCC that Graham County is using here in the county, and none of our frequencies are going to be remotely close to what is being used here in the county, so there'll be no interference in any way, shape, or form.
There's no interference, I don't have no questions except, on 2 and 3 of the fifth.
Yeah.
Check, because both of them was grant funded projects, and the land was surveyed off for them. So that might be the thing, and also the security in the 911 for 2. I don't know if the state would want anything else in there or not.
Okay. Well, like I said, those were just some places that I kind of marked on the map for y'all to look at. But I mean, anywhere up there, we can move around and we can pick an exact spot or whatever. That can be adjusted. This was just kind of an example of some open area that maybe we could use if it was available. And as far as the concern maybe with putting the tower up, like I said, we have the grant funding to do this for erecting the tower, so it won't be any cost to the county itself.
So all you want is a spot up there, it doesn't really matter which.
Yeah, I just want a spot up there somewhere on that property that sees both Wachacha and Joanna Ball, the towers up there, like I said. Just one spot there, because it's got a great view of town already, so pretty much anywhere right up there in that area that sees both those in town will serve perfectly.
That shouldn't be an issue then. We're not too worried. You put it over there where you got number 1, picture number 1. I don't know, there's nothing over there, you guys.
No, we've got some conduit for fiber run around through there, and there's a lot of spaghetti lines that we have to really be careful. It's just stuff all over infrastructure. And another consideration too, which really isn't part of that might be the preferable spot over in that corner as much as possible. One is because remember we are looking at that area for a justice center. But it's more, we left that as sort of backup or extra additional parking. So maybe one is more preferable than the others because of, like Commissioner Eller said, and plus the location where they are close to the facilities on their own land.
I think with all the security for the 911 center, probably 2 times.
Yeah.
I would think. I don't know for sure. That is something we do have to reach out to the state to make sure. If it don't interfere with none of the grant stuff, if it's trying to peruse it, it's not that property back there is, this property logged in a hole.
Yeah, you probably never do anything else.
Yes, we will, that is one thing I forgot to mention, on the property, that if we do get this property, we will put up a fence as well to kind of keep people out and to protect our equipment.
I think if the board is good with it, we can actually spot the best location and present again and say this is where we really will go up and on. I'll get in IT involved and we'll all, our internal IT, meet them and just see which one is in maintenance. Because Gavin knows a lot about all the infrastructure that's kind of in place up there. And even the town, honestly, about all the water lines, everything there.
Do you have any comments?
Those are the meetings outside of the park.
So it would be a no-cost installation to the county. Would the board be willing to let them have that one leased or rent-free too? That needs to be considered as well.
I think initially I would support that. It's going to serve 575 households to start with. So, and possible expansion, we hope, over time to get more.
Yes, sir. That's the key reason why I'm picking this location here is because it's right there, has fiber access, and it will be easier for me to expand out to the other towers that it sees and out further into the county a lot quicker.
So maybe I'll just give a flag off and let us know where it is, and if we want to, we can drive by and take a look.
I think that'd be the best. Choose the best
That would work.
first and second alternate and go from there. But I think it would be important for us collectively to meet, like I said, with the town that knows the infrastructure, especially in the area of number one. And then some of our internal workings with the fiber runs that we can run around and the conduit. So yeah, just get with me maybe, I don't know, at the end of the week or first of next week, and we can make that work.
All right, sounds good. I
I
appreciate it.
don't know if the dispatch will interfere with y'all or not, because when they key up their radios up there, they kill TVs and everything, they'll.
It should. We haven't had any issues with that in any of the places that we've been around in Swain County, so it really should.
I don't know if it interferes over their transit, obviously, you pass one at a time.
Yeah.
I know if you're in dispatch and they've got TV on, when they key up the radio, it's got a black screen.
Pretty sure Swain has their emergency tower 20 feet from ours.
On Second Island. It may not be in those images that I showed of the tower, but there's another one slightly, depending on which one you're looking at, to the left of ours, and it's the counties up there that they use all their stuff on, and we haven't had an issue. That was the very first tower that we went at. Same thing with Swain, and they let us on in. And the whole time we've been doing this and growing, we've never had an issue with their stuff. So I don't see why we would have it any different here. But if something does happen like that, we're more than happy to address it and make whatever changes we need to in order to resolve it.
Can I add something to this discussion, because I've handled a bunch of these things. There are some other issues that you probably need to think about. Number one, big is, says the duration, any consideration that's going to be paid or not paid. What happens if somebody else decides they'd like to hang another antenna or receiver on it? Who actually owns the tower? There's a lot of other issues that are pretty typical of a tower. So I think y'all just make sure that that's part of the discussion you're working on in the next several weeks.
Is that how you work with Swain County too?
Yeah, we do have some that we lease to the county, or at least from the county, I should say. We can work out deal with them, but usually if they own the tower, if the tower's already there and they own it, then we just lease off the tower from them. But if they own the property and we put the tower, we own the tower, but at least the space from them.
Maybe you could, since you've already got one with Swain, send us a copy of it, we can get it to Jay and he can review it. No need don't need to reinvent the wheel. Spend a lot of time on that if they've got it in place, so.
Send it to me and I'll get it over to our attorney, Jay.
Okay.
And I got a question on the lead time. If you get approval to go forward, what are you looking at? How do you have it up and running?
The biggest part would be getting the tower up itself. I've got my guys ready to start the foundation of the base whenever we get the site, finalized, get everything taken care of, get the go ahead. They're ready to get going and get the foundation laid. Once it's set up, you gotta let the base cure for a week or two or so. And then our other guys that actually erect the tower, they'll come down and they'll put it up. Hopefully as soon as we get to go ahead, we'd be hoping within 2-3 months for sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're excited, appreciate y'all coming.
We're excited as well.
We are low on connectivity here.
Russ Harris, we should be having access to some of this infrastructure bill that just passed. Coming down the road, there should be more money, right?
We hope so, and there's $1 billion in state budget for broadband and education for the other areas that's on that, so we are, we got excited when we saw the governor got signed, and we got stressed, and that means we gotta go at it.
Who knows, a couple of years down the road, we're gonna get an internet all over the
Hopefully.
Go to the Middle Falls on Big Snowbird and watch a movie. So,
Okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks. Let's get with me.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready. I'll present. Good evening, everyone. We'll start off with some really good news, I think, as Mr. Harris had mentioned. It looks like the governor's going to actually sign a budget after about 3 years. And what I'm being told in that budget, now I haven't officially seen this, so I looked all up. Of course, this was late this afternoon when I got the information. But unofficially, until the budget is officially signed by Governor Cooper and released potentially later this week, in that budget for Graham County has been appropriated $5 million towards our Justice Center. So that is absolutely $5 million more than I thought the state would actually appropriate. So we'll wait and see. Working, and I got that from part of it came from Corbin's office, and then the other from Representative Gillespie's office. So we'll wait and see when it comes out. Again, I looked a little this afternoon, but it's not been signed yet. So
We are well represented.
yeah.
In Raleigh, North Carolina. He put it on Twitter today that he's actually going to sign it. So,
It's out there officially on the site too. He's going to sign it.
That's good. That's a good thing for Graham County.
It is. It is good.
I just spoke to Carl Gillespie a little while this afternoon, and he said to give you all his regards. He'd be at one of our meetings just very soon.
Outstanding.
hopefully the occupancy tax is in that budget.
Hopefully. We'll look for it. We're excited. Move on to item 2. Not a lot of change in item 2 of the grants. Obviously, there wasn't enough with the first go round of RFPs for the services on the first grant, the neighborhood revitalization. And so this went out for second. We expect the second to come back, the second issues for RFPs to come back in December. We'll be able to choose the subs from that to go forward with the neighborhood revitalization. With the COVID relief for our senior center, we're still working with the administration side with Alice Briggs with Rithers Ravenel, and we'll press forward as soon as she gets through with her administrative and procurement paperwork as we work forward, getting that project started. We're excited about being able to help the senior center out as well too. So a lot of good things happening there. Also, on a good note, I went over on Saturday before we kicked off the Take One for the Team initiative on 13 November, Saturday, and we actually did, which included booster shots and some first dose vaccines. 248 vaccines were administered, and we raised approximately $10,200 for the different programs. A lot of them for the band, but some sports as well. So it was really went over really well. It was pretty busy over there on Saturday.
That's good.
That was really good. Some good news there. Follow-up clinic will be held on December the 4th, same location at the school from 9 to 4. And that gives them the time to be able to, I think, be ready for their second dose or boosters, whatever needs to be done in this case there. So really good thing happening as far as that's concerned.
Great.
Yeah. It was a little windy and chilly over there Saturday. Item 4, the 76 fuel station, the monitoring wells. Some more good news. I met with Mr. Martin, who's with Martin Slagle, and they're actually working for us now to install the 2 wells that were destroyed. When he went over there, I met with him this morning, and when he went over there, he actually found one of the wells they couldn't find. So, which is really good. It was right outside the gate, and it was on the McDonald's side of the impound yard. So potentially we'll only be having to drill 1 well. He's going to make sure there was no damage to the head. The good thing about that is if there is some damage, the team that's coming to drill the other well can fix it. So the cost won't be as much, obviously, initially. They're going to start drilling the 1 monitoring well on next Monday. They should be able to do all the work in 1 day, and I'll keep everybody abreast of that. So pretty good information provided through Martin Slagle as well. Item 5 is the Eagle View High Resolution Aerial Imagery. We've got the signed documents. I'm waiting back the signed document from them. But we're moving forward with them to be able to schedule the flying and the air imagery somewhere starting in December through into the winter months while we have good images of the area to be able to do our tracking for that. So that'll be good, and that'll be in the process of being done this hopefully through the winter and be ready to have good imagery by the spring.
That's for
That's like for the tax office mapping, yeah. Be able to see property a lot better. And we really wanted to get everything in place for the winter while the leaves are off the trees. Obviously, we can see property a lot better during that time. So that's, for them, this is their flying season. Pretty good.
we'll find some more new homes, right?
Maybe. Seems to be happening.
Found 3 last this year, so I think 3 or 4 this year. All very good.
Moving on, item 6, EMS is planning to implement the new 24/72 schedule on Monday, 22 November, start at 08. So I know that's been a long time coming. A lot of people have talked about it. We're going to see how things are going to work. There's a lot of people, including the people within the EMS department, that's excited about getting that 24/72 schedule started. So I just want to make sure the board was aware when that is going to take place. And then last item is the wide format printer. No change there. We're still looking at quotes, trying to get some quotes. We'll probably provide that to the board. And I don't know if Ms. Garland, did you have any additional information at all?
Not at this point.
Rebound funds at Freeport?
The Eagle View.
No, the.
Oh, the mapping, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. If there are no questions on the manager's report, I'll move on to the project manager's report. You have that in front of you as well. As we reported last time, RDA Moose Branch subdivision is going forward. They're going to be doing that this winter. I've received the first pay app. Most of that's for materials, stored materials, and some work that was done, putting the sign up. So we're reporting about 12.5% complete with those purchased materials. And I'll keep track of that, obviously really close, so we'll be watching that. I'm excited about that as well. Also, positives with the next 2 projects, basically about the same, a little bit percentage complete, at around 44%. Both buildings, the concrete slabs and utilities for the cemetery and recreation department building are on the ground. We've got the concrete in before the extreme frost. Clay did a really good job on the slabs. Plumbing's in. Metal building are here. They were delivered. We paid those off. They're on the ground. There's a little delay with Roy Engel and Son, is who we hired, who put Premier Building up before. They were a recommendation from Premier. We bid it out, and they were the low bid. They were initially scheduled to start from the first planned delivery of the metal buildings. But as you know, the metal building delivery, because of their delay in metal, moved to the right. He had to start another job, so he's delayed a little bit. It would have been great for him to start right away, which was the plan this week, or last week actually. He hasn't committed to me a date yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be mostly in the beginning to the second week of December. I know it's probably not going to happen next week with Thanksgiving holiday coming up and him finishing what he's doing, but good news is he's in schedule, every paperwork signed, so there will be here to install buildings.
Buildings are here.
Both buildings are here. We did an internal inventory. Everything seems to be here. There's a question of 2 little items. There are some jams for the doors, which is actually 3 pieces of metal. And I went back to Premier. They're going to check to make sure it was put on the truck. If it is, if they say it's been put on the truck, we just need to maybe dig a little bit deeper and cut some bands to make sure we got it. Other than that, it's all here, ready to go up. So that's good stuff. It's good news when it comes to that. Moving on to the number 5, which is the Board of Elections. All the MEP is been inspected, all the rough ends complete. It's showing that project's about 55% complete. We delayed spraying the insulation. We actually had the installations scheduled this past week. we weren't aware, and it seems like it was done previous, I don't know, you guys may know a little more history about this building. When they came to spray, they said it had to be empty. And we didn't know, and I wasn't gonna empty the building for that, and I said they needed to probably do a holiday or a Saturday. So they rescheduled, and that's the reason why there's a little bit of delay of work not going on there. There's some sheetrock delivered, so once the installation's done and gets inspected, some sheetrock will go up there. Maybe some sheetrock that'll go up ahead of time of the installation because of the standoff between the two to making two separate structures. We'll need some backing to be able to spray some of that insulation again. So we'll may do some sheetrock work prior to. Once we get all that inspected, it'll be just setting and doing the finishes, so that the project's coming along really well. I'd like to hope to think we could be in all three of these, and it's gonna depend on too, I wanna present some of the dollar figures, this is the intent going forward to the board. Remember, we talked a little bit about, let's see where we are when we get the two metal buildings in the dry. And I'd like to be able to present a dollar figure to those, and then if the board says to go forward, obviously with this Garland's okay with where we are financially, we'll look at an estimated cost to finish the two buildings. But I'd like to see if the board approves going forward with, obviously we've got to finish the board of elections, but if they approve going forward with the two metal buildings, I'd like to see us in those by spring, if not sooner, is what would be the goal. Depending on if there's any delays with whatever else we may need to order out there, which are several finish items.
Is there, this electrical thing, is it getting firewall?
It's not technically a firewall, but it would be a separation, a full separation. That's where I was talking about having to, as you know, in construction, getting that backing on one side, drywall, and then let them spray to it. Or insulate fiberglass, one way or the other, I have to have a backing. Yeah.
I have one other question about that. Where's the handicap access to the electrical?
It's actually, when we poured all that concrete, they'll actually be able to, we checked it to make sure it was within 1 and 12, and it is. Okay.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, we checked it, we actually pulled strings and did the measurements, and it is, and we'll do an ADA access for that doorway where you see the plywood that's cut out, so they should be able to get in there, no problem. Which is
It's closed out here, right?
I'm sorry.
In front of your little office, that gets.
That's right, that's right. It'll all be closed off, you won't be able to access, which will be something else I'll come to the board with, and when we start looking at costs where we're at there, remember that the facilities here are not ADA accessible, so we need to look at doing some things in the bathrooms here, quite honestly. Hopefully, the numbers that we're hoping we've saved will help us put some money towards redoing these so we can do that. And that was the intent, is to have the other bathroom, we have another bathroom, we can literally close one. It was designed as a 3-phase project, the Board of Elections to begin with. Get this other employee bathroom complete, open it as the females, phase 2 begins. Redo the female bathroom, as you know, it needs some help and it needs to be ADA accessible. And then vice versa, for phase 3, we'll do the male bathroom. That's the plan going forward. We'll let the board look at some numbers for that, and then if we approve, we'll keep going. All right, moving on. I think finally the 6th grade, item number 5, they've gotten out of the ground over there, which was helped, as you guys are aware and were right about. It was a mess over there. They had to do a lot of engineering on the footer. They had to put a lot of gravel in because it was pretty wet over there, wouldn't pass compaction. So they finally got out of the ground and they're moving forward on that one. They're showing about 40% complete for the 6th grade initially and on the backside. Both 6 and 7 is the design for that little snowbird. Again, I'm showing about 99%. They were making sure the state was good with the EWP on that. And I think there was some comments this week. I need to double check. They were pretty good with everything. So as soon as we get those design plans back, we'll go out to bid. It'll all be one project. It'll be bid as one project. That's why I'm showing them together. And they think they'll get better bids and more competitive bids by doing both, because it's the same location, and it'll just be a better project altogether to do them all. Clean the stream out, and then fix. There's a couple areas where they're going to fix the bank.
I just got a email from our engineer This is an update that the
John.
Army Corps of Engineers and the state have approved our permits
Awesome.
this afternoon. So we'll be able to begin the process of bidding out the work. And he needs to get with us about that process.
Oh, awesome. That's good. So that project's gonna be coming to, that'll be, they look at that as a late winter or early spring project starting. Or it could be potentially longer depending on how many bidders we get. So that's good. We'll be pushing forward on that. And then the last item is the gym. And I've been in contact with them that all of the upfit to strengthen the facade and the brick areas have been completed. So that's done. The company is moving in tonight. I saw them actually moving some stuff in tonight to redo the floors. They're going to fix the floors, start working on that. And they're going to redo talking to Patrick, the bleachers are out. The bleachers are gone out of the facility. I haven't been able to look since they took them out, but I will. They're going to redo those as well too. And I actually thought, so far from what I understand, insurance is paying for this. I'll follow up with that, which is a good thing. And I thought it's good if while they can update it, make it better for the citizens and the kids. So that's what they're doing, and I thought that was a good thing. So I'll continue to report on what they're going to be doing with the facility going forward on that.
They're using what's called Kids Place.
It's actually back open. I asked about that as well. Once they completed the strengthening of the walls, they opened. The kids are back using the playground, which is really good. Unless there's any more questions, that's all I have.
Anybody?
Nice to get a little bit pictures, that kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item will be the finance report. Or over to you, dear.
All right, good evening. I do have the finance report through October 31st, 2021. If you look on page 1 of your report in green, you'll see that the general fund reconciled cash balance, including our North Carolina Capital Management Trust Fund general fund account, was $8,330,117. We did rebound. That's because we had moved the ARPA money for premium pay back into the general fund. It's permissible under ARPA regulations. As well as I did transfer, and you'll see in just a few moments why, a little over $400,000 out of our capital project fund as an advance toward our debt funding of the school project back into the general fund because we've been paying the match for that project out of general fund dollars. You'll also see below that our capital project fund stands at $2,264,874.27, and today that does include where I transferred the quarter-cent sales tax for the first quarter, a little over $117,000 into that account. And then you'll also notice our school capital project with the sales tax reversion from last year stands at a little over $114,000, and then the ARPA account, American Rescue Plan Act account, after the premium pay stands at $266,596.10. You'll notice that we are a little ahead of this time last year in our general fund cash by a little under $499,000. So I'm pleased with those numbers. If you'll turn to page 2, this is our property tax collections, page 3, property tax collections for October. They were a little bit down from this time last year, but up from this last month. The current taxes were $324,484, and prior year taxes collected were $11,736. So we collected a total of $336,221 in real property taxes, and we're continuing to increase over past years with our BTS, B&B taxes with $54,866. If you look on page 4, you will see that so far in our real property taxes this year, we collected a little under $2.1 million, and our DMV is at a little under 231,000. We're ahead of this time last year, with 188.5, and our real taxes and our D&D are 14.5. We're ahead. Our tax collection percentage is the thing that I always look closely at, because that's what we work our budget off of, and we are quite a bit ahead of this time last year. Our collection percentage at 28%. This time last year was at 25%, so I'm real pleased with that. November is when we collect our mortgage escrows, so you should see this time next month that we'll see quite a bit more in property tax collections. And then December will be heavy, and in January will be heavy as well, which is when we basically have to take care of the rest of the year. Page 6, you'll see our operating results for October. We collected $1,651,661 in general fund revenues. We had expenditures of $1,566,943, which includes funds that we expended, transfers for the school match on the school grant. But we had a surplus, which I was pleased with, of $84,718. Typically for October, we come in at a deficit, so I was real pleased with that. Right now, we're at a deficit at the bottom of the page at $536,951. We're a little bit behind this time last year, but again, we spent $500 match for our school fund, so that's where that's coming from. Page 7, you'll see our property taxes declined some. They declined from this time last year, but they also declined from the month before, which was kind of expected, but I was a little disappointed in it. $187,138.52 is what we just deposited the other day. But we are ahead at this time last year by about $76,000, so we're still tracking ahead of where we were. And then again, you'll notice that that figure does not include the quarter cent. You'll notice that below that we put in another about $17,000 into the capital projects, and I just transferred the first quarter for $117,000 into that bank account. Collections on property taxes, they're still working diligently. Had a meeting with our attorney the other day to talk about some more foreclosures that were complicated, but we got some things worked out, so I think our tax collector will be finalizing some more foreclosures before long. So we continue to make progress on those old taxes. And then the final page, you'll see the expenditures we've made so far on our recreation, cemetery, and election board. We spent a little under $71,000 on the election board renovation, and then the $31,000 each for the recreation building is the purchases of the metal buildings. And then again, you'll see we've spent a little under $336,000 on the match for this whole fund. Any questions? Okay, if you look at the next page, you'll see our budget. We're looking real good in the budget. Actually, we should have 67% left in the budget. And if you look down the list on pretty much every department, is tracking right along within or within budget, and they're not in any danger of overexpending. One area was grounds, but that's pretty much ground to a halt. That's a lot of fuel and parts and supplies, so that budget will come in within budget. And then our special appropriations appears to be ahead of budget, but just remember that we spent the money for the lights, which pushes that budget ahead of itself, and then we've made pretty much all of our first and second quarter appropriations to other organizations. Any questions on our budget or the finance report?
That sales tax, that was from September, right?
Yes, that was odd to me. I'm gonna be interested to see what October, but I think in September we had some rain, a little bit more rain than in October, so I'm gonna be interested to see what happens in October. Just had another couple of things I wanted to go over, as finance. On the ARPA money, we have been speaking about having to make a second, report to the federal government by the end of January. They have extended that deadline to the end of April for us to do our report, where we basically give our broad strokes of how we want to utilize the funds. I spent many hours on webinars with the School of Government. They've been awesome in helping to educate all of us as to what all of this entails. One thing that they really talked about very in depth was that counties need, and municipalities need, to have several public input sessions, as well as workshops to determine the strategic use of the funding, and we need to be able to document that. So we need to be able to do probably some public hearings just to hear what the people in the community are interested in, how we're going to use the funds, and the ideas or the requests that they may have, and to ask questions, and then also maybe to do some surveys and to do some maybe through the Grand Star or what have you, to find out what the public pulse is. So I would encourage the board for us to maybe use a little bit of additional time we have until April to get that in place. They talked a lot about doing like coffee hours and different things like that to keep it less formal, but also to encourage people to participate. We have opted into the Opioid Settlement. I did the registration for that probably a couple of weeks ago. We got the documents to sign, the contract to sign, where we will accept the settlement. And if we don't sign the contracts, then we won't get any money. So I'm really pleased with how all of that went, and I'm really excited again to participate on that committee. And I would just need a board directive for us to log in and sign the paperwork, if that is pleasing to the board. That way we get that done this week.
And then you can,
You did that?
Okay. That's going to be very meaningful for our community over an 18-year period. And one of the requirements will be that there be a committee put in place with various stakeholders so that that money is also strategically used for prevention and mitigation. Not necessarily justice related, it's more to try to keep people out of the justice system. And then I had a phone call from Shelley Foreman the other day requesting for me to participate as a member of the Region 8 Partnership for Children Board. I think I spoke with their director the other day at some length, and they're wanting and needing to have people with finance backgrounds sitting on the board. So if it's a 3-year term, it's a quarterly meeting. Right now, it'll all be Zoom, but if it's pleasing to the board, I would like to ask permission to serve on that committee.
Need that motion? I'll make that motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Becky not only has the financial experience, but experience too. So it's a beautiful fit. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that.
I was honored to be asked. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment?
Do we have public comment? Anybody?
No.
No public comment. Let's go on to discussion items, some stuff that where action is needed or may not be needed. So we need to do action needed on the releases and discoveries. Should have a copy of that.
And is there a motion sundries, and we leave this in front of you. Thank you. Commissioner Miller, is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
All right, appoint Philip Boyle to ABC, Accident Safety Committee, Child Fatality Protection Team, and HCCBG Committee.
Keep going.
SWA Aging Leadership Team, Transportation Advisory Board.
What boards?
That's the boards that, EMS director or the DSS always serve on.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay.
All right, appoint Philip Boyle to the Floodplain Committee, Action Meeting.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you.
Appoint Amy C. to the JCPC and SW Child Development and the CCPC.
Right.
Mr. Miller, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right. Appoint Aaron Stewart to the Floodplain Committee.
Right.
Commissioner Miller, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wiggins, all in favor?
All right, and replace Randy Collins on the EDC board.
I'll go ahead and present there if you, it's okay.
Sure.
And Reno, I have a unanimous recommendation to appoint Adrian Nelms to the EDC board. That would be my team, Angie Knight, Michelle Shiplet, Adam Machachi, myself, and Beth Creek. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right, next item would be discussion of the sheriff jail ARPA funds.
Is that the same thing that you were talking about, Becky? ARPA funds?
Yes. You asked me to put it on there.
Oh, we were gonna have a workshop. That was, what I was talking about, but, you know, I've had a discussion with the sheriff and the former, chief deputy. You know, we gave the EMS folks, a good payment for their work during COVID, and I feel like we got a couple of movers people that are frontline people, have to deal with it every day, and that we should be trying to do something for them. I don't know how much or whatever, that's something the board has to decide. But sheriff's department patrolman, detention officers up there, they're dealing with everybody that comes to the door or every vehicle they stop as a potential person that has coronavirus. Our transit department employees have gone every day transporting to dialysis, to doctors, to groceries. They've been out there just like these people here have been out there. We recognize the EMS workers for what they do every day, and I think if we're going to do that, we should look at everybody else that I believe deserves to have some sort of bonus or whatever you want to call it for being there through thick and thin. You know, Gary talking to him, I never thought about it, but he said, if a 911 call gets dropped, and they dispatch an ambulance, and then somebody from the sheriff's office has to go make sure the area is secure, that it's safe for the ambulance to come. So they're out there. And I just think our public safety people in transit, that they should get some benefit from that as well. So needs to come in a workshop, we've got to decide. That's what I want to do.
I agree with you, Bill. Those are people who were exposed to this COVID virus, every day, if they were. So, is there any discussion about when we might typically, I don't know how you arrived at, the funds that were dispersed to the EMS workers, and certainly they're working for the, whatever. Is there a date that we might put together a workshop to get this in place? Is that what you did with the other funds, the workshop?
And it's also an item I had on the closed session if you wanted to discuss, different other shops or other departments, plus a date if you wanted to work it through the close, but it's up to the board on how they want to approach it. There's some things that, from what I understand, Ms. Garland had read and learned through some of the training that she went through on how to disperse the money, the board would need to consider as well.
I prefer to do a workshop, because it'll take more than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And that was recommendation of last month, was set a date for the workshop.
Did we get any clear messages last October, Becky?
They still haven't released the final ruling or the final, regulations. But I did read that they said that in the interim, we can assume, as long as we document, that we use the interim final ruling as our guide, that we can assume that that's the final ruling. If we've relied on it in good faith, and then they change the rules, as long as we've documented that we have relied on it, then we should be fine.
And that was part of the reason the EMS and the nurses got it, because it was August. The
Yes.
state they got holidays, vaccinated.
Yeah.
They couldn't say that they wasn't.
And we got additional information. I like Commissioner Wiggins, and met with the sheriff several times, and he provided some information that it's pretty solid for the jail, especially the jail and the sheriff's office. And we know the jail's had some outbreaks. They're working frontline with them. So I think we understand kind of where we are with them. We just wanted to get that workshop to where we see where we want to do with the sheriff and the jail, and then add in the transportation, because we only still have the first round, right? We haven't received the other round.
It'll be the end of May.
Yeah. So we don't have a whole lot of, she reported on what we have left. We have to see where that works. And then if there are other things, and that's really where the workshop comes in.
Transit has funds that they can use separate from the ARPA money.
Yeah, that's right too, which can be considered too.
There's a pretty hard deadline on the transit funds, because that's considered CARES Act, and unless the federal government extends that, we're looking at December 31st to use all those funds. Unless DOT has told Juanita Transit Facilities any different from that. I'll just have to verify that with her. Conservatively, we're looking at December 31st.
Next week's Thanksgiving, people will be away, and holiday and deer hunting. If you got a place to go to deer hunting, you'll make it off. First week of December, the way it sounds like.
Would the board prefer, like we did before, I think it was Friday, I think we did one session of workshop on Friday. Is that better for the board? Be able to make it, Friday the 3rd, December the 3rd, or Friday, December the 10th?
We didn't go with my reading.
I am available the 29th and the 10th and the 13th, which the 13th we will have a workshop here for the state, correct?
With the state.
November 29th.
December the 13th. Is the workshop with Sharon Agency?
Yes, it is. Yes. That one's outside my scope. Yes, it will be here on
So
December.
you would be available the 10th?
Yeah.
The 10th looks like that would be a good day. Everybody else is okay?
That's Friday.
That works for me.
I can't answer that question, but I'll check it.
So tentatively, we'll just go ahead and schedule approve.
I'll see if it's our line, my
We
line.
did the first time we started on this. Was it 09?
What time?
The 09. On the 10th, December 10th.
And then,
09?
09, that's right.
It killed me, this military stuff. I don't want to show up till the next day at 2:00.
Okay. Thank you, board. Commission agreement on that?
All right, moving on. Reappoint Mr. Commissioner Dale Wiggins to the TNT Board, effective 12/4.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
I did a good job.
So you should have in your packet the information for the next item, which is approval of resolution supporting passage of a North Carolina heartbeat. We have, on the board to sign that as well.
Okay, is there a second?
That's good. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
We need to go to
Two times.
And the next item is no action, but it's just to make you aware that, I saw the paperwork, I just wanted to make sure that it would get, let me make sure I understand it, that the law concerning retirement for law enforcement effective December 1st, 2021, there's no waiting period to add them to that, which is probably a good thing. So I just want to make you aware that it did get passed.
Creates less confusion.
100%. And then, last item, is there any new or old business?
Yes.
Senior Center, I keep forgetting it's not on my list. I'm sorry, you should see in front of you the waiver. We need to approve the Grand County Senior Center waiver, illness waiver for them to sign. Need action for that.
This is one thing, that question. And that is in that, the bottom paragraph, talks about you may return to activities or lunch after 24 hours have passed. Well, COVID symptoms, from what been told, I haven't read it, but I've had people that had it told they feel fine for a little while, and then maybe the next day they feel like a dog all over again from it. So it says you can return after your symptoms have ceased or a negative test. It should be a negative test if they're sick enough to go home or whatever from the facility. I think they've got to pass a test before they come back. But we have rapid testing at any of our locations. Do any of our departments have that they can administer themselves, or is that something we could get for the seniors to administer?
We'd have to probably get something for them. Yeah, the paramedics, we intended on them to be able to do that. I know that some of our folks have that ability, but we need to get that.
Maybe they can get some free ones. But I just think that's, I could be sick as a dog and feel better tomorrow and go there and no symptoms.
Instead of or, say and. Instead of or, say and.
Well, I'll just
I think eliminate the past symptoms and just put
whether you feel better or not.
24 hours
a test before you come
to
back.
have a negative test. So you want to approve it with that change?
That's what I want.
Okay.
I agree that the test needs to be made.
You don't want about 90? Well, together we got to combine zero.
All right, is there a motion to approve, this missive with the correction of negative test before returning to work?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right. Last item is the appointing the VIA board members after from what Ms. Shelley Warner requested. The regional, I think it's the regional, we're looking for the regional board members.
It's a good team.
I make a motion to appoint Connie and Dale to the advisory board.
Is there a second?
I'm in favor. We need all mental health we get.
Got the right to do.
Now, you're not going there for treatment, Dale, you're going to be on the board.
We do. The program that we're trying to run.
All right.
You know, if you need services and you don't have a license and you don't have a car, it's a 100-mile round trip to Silva to get access to these services that they offer, and that's, you know, that's just insane. People we need to help, most likely don't have a car or a driver's license.
No, they don't.
You
Is there any identification to, sorry,
know, exactly.
at this point?
Yeah.
So you guys, you were appointed right now.
Sounds like they're working like that to give us a vote again, though.
We are. I've been in the middle of that.
We used to have them votes, and they took them away from us.
We're trying, are we, Jay? Working on it.
So is there any new or old business? Okay, that's it, we would, look at closed session.
We have some,
We do.
okay, do I hear a motion to go into closed session under GS 143-318, 11A1356 privilege for confidential information, attorney-client privilege, personnel and contracts, with a 10-minute break.
Motion.
All in favor?
Mine's got a dead battery, I think that's what Rick got, so.
Just the way it is.
I don't know about that.
It's on the certificate of need, exactly how that room was specified, yeah.
So you have nothing for civilians.
Yes, we could, they could jeopardize the civilian. The CT and the memo, nothing in the same.
I didn't say anything about the man, so they just have,
Altered.
they just have nurses area, CT room and lab.
What kind of injections do you get, mammo, do they use contrast, mammoth?
Because he's applied for a public health grant. And he says that's one of the conditions is the locks under the sinks have to be locked, or the cabinets under the sinks in the exam rooms have to be locked.
They're saying, the email's saying that it has to be as part of the state inspection, and they're gonna get it inspected, it's a state requirement. We don't, they have not admitted to me that it's for, inspection for a grant. They're just saying it's a state
Or
requirement.
maybe you need to hold off until you see that state inspection requirement.
Before we make the motion even,
Jay, what do you think?
we gotta get it right.
Who will be issuing the inspection department, even health or, like a hospital?
Jacob, you know who would do that, the inspection? Who would inspect that, Department of DHHS, or would it be?
I guess it depends on who's the grantor. If DHHS is the grantor, I'm sure they inspect it themselves. Who's the grantor?
I have no.
We
It's
don't
gonna
know.
fall under the Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
I'm sure the HHS has got somebody.
Yeah. If it's the state, that's who it's coming from.
Well, if you don't have enough people, to make a decision about this, you need to authorize Jason to get further information to be able to make a decision and go ahead and make it to you. Otherwise, you have to call another meeting.
Yeah, the only questions in the CT room and the memo room,
Yeah.
as to whether
Does he have
they
this meeting scheduled
comply with the CON
for this
requirement.
inspection?
As far as we know, yes.
When
We know that's a concern.
But we don't
That'd be
want-
the first question.
The CON depends on the memo in the CT room. So there should not be any kind of renovations in those two rooms.
Right? But he's got this inspection scheduled already.
I have no idea, I've not seen anything in writing.
There is no, according to Danielle Smiley, they can come anytime. I think it sounds like it's one of those spot inspections.
I mean,
So it's under his, just a uninvited inspection.
I could see where they may need a sharps close by the CT room, because if they do a CT with contrast, they have to be injecting the contrast.
Yeah, that's, I knew that.
So if they were gonna do it, I think if they would leave it in that observation area instead of in the CT room itself, it would probably, I don't think the CON would be jeopardized. We just can't change any major dimensions or anything like that. Anything that could compromise the, heat and air and all that stuff.
In their CT room. I think they do. But I don't know.
I've had the contrast administered up there at Silva, and I think they've got a point box right there. No,
I think we, as long as they're not.
they do that IV. They do that with an
They
IV,
do,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of injection you get
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't know if
CT
it's an
or
IV.
in the ammo. Anyway, if the CON says you can't have it, you can't have it. So that's it.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, really.
So does it please the board for Jason to get additional information and confer with Attorney Coward to get this verbiage correct?
I'll make a motion that Jason gathers more information to confirm that we comply with the CON and then proceed with the installation of the lights and the other requests.
Does that cover everything?
The request in that room, for that email room.
Yes.
Yeah.
As requested by
Does?
Dan.
It does. Okay, all in favor?
What's the motion I'm voting on?
This vote's,
To get, Jason to get all the specs, basically, and make sure that it doesn't interfere with the CON.
Call that light and hold it up.
No, he's okay, he's good.
Oh, okay. If that's it, I think.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Thank you, Jacob.